got the bill of mine in the house.
Yeah, and he only did that because I'm carrying a bill of his that has a little heat to it on the floor of the house, and so it's something we could talk about later if you want, dealing with wine and corkage or whatever. Thank you all for being here, and I want to first off start off by thanking Ken Longo for all his service and what he's doing for this party, because he never, as chairman, when people come and talk to us about running for chairman, the first thing, or chairwoman, they say, I want to do this, I want to do this, and the first thing I tell them is, what are you, crazy? Because what happens is people don't realize how much work goes into being the chairman of the party. And, people always complain about what happens, but very rarely are they thanked for all the hard work that they do. And I just want to thank Ken and the executive board for what they do. And just please give Ken a... And that's the last time he'll be thanked. I trust you. Trust me. Well, thanks a lot for all this. And Ken, thanks for the introduction. And definitely Jeff, I had no idea he was going to do this. You never know when Jeff gets up whether it's going to be a good introduction or not. But, I've had a really good session this year, and I really am pleased with the outcome of what's going on with the bills that I've introduced. I'm going to talk about a few of the bills, and then I'm going to open up to questions, because I could talk forever, but I want to know what you want to talk about. So I'm going to open for questions, and if Jeff is still here, I'm going to ask him to come up here, or Barry, if he's still here, I'm going to ask him to come up here too, so that we can address your questions with all of our knowledge, or limited knowledge we might have. The first bill, one of the bills, of the 12 that are alive still, of the 15 that I introduced, because we had a limit of 15 in the House, a self-imposed limit that we can, in the House of Delegates, we can only introduce 15 bills each. The Senate didn't have that. They just do things a little differently. But we had that limit, so 12 of mine are still alive. The first one is the B-poll tax, and you all know what that is, the Business Professional Occupational License Tax. And where's Rosemary? Is she still here? Okay, she stepped out. She stepped out. Well, this idea was brought to me by Rosemary Wilson. And over the summer, she called me and said, hey, I have this idea to help businesses and to help businesses create jobs in Virginia Beach. And it was originally a Virginia Beach idea. And I said, well, this is great, this is great. So I talked to the Chamber of Commerce, Ira, Agricola, and they love the idea. And what it does is it allows localities, permissive language, to exempt a newly formed business from paying the B-poll their first 2 years. Okay, because this is something the studies show that that's when a business will fail. Well, I love the idea. The idea was only for Virginia Beach at first, and then Chesapeake heard about it, Mayor Krasnoff, and he called up and said, I want to do it. So they passed a resolution, just like City Council, to do this. Brought it to the House. The House amended it to make it statewide. They thought, well, this is a great idea for any locality. So the bill passed the House statewide language. It went straight through the Senate, and it's on its way to become a law. Right now, it's going to be on the governor's desk actually this week. So this is the first real modification on B-poll, from what we understand, in the last 20 years. So it's a really big deal that we have. So we're really pleased about that bill, and the Retail Alliance and the Chamber is very excited about this opportunity to bring businesses to localities and afford them the opportunity to actually survive instead of going through the red tape. The next one is real estate appeals and real estate assessor appeals, and Ken mentioned that one. I brought this bill, a similar bill, last year that just shifted the burden from the taxpayer to the government on your assessment appeals. This year, I worked with VML, the Virginia Municipal League, and VACO, the Virginia Association of Counties, and the realtors to work out, we have a compromise. Now, is it everything I wanted? No. It's 65% of what the last bill was. And basically, it just allows more transparency in the process. The taxpayer has more information at their fingertips once this becomes law than they ever had before. Their rights are expressly given to them in writing, even the right to have an assessor physically inspect your property prior to an appeal. When you appeal your property, which most people don't know you have that right, but you're going to be notified once you appeal your property on that. So it does that, and it just really, and if the government doesn't do what they're supposed to do, then the burden shifts to the government to do what they're supposed to do, and they have to bring their case first. So this is a very good bill. It's a very big bill. Everybody was really shocked that this bill passed as well. Mary Lou.
Does that allow them to come into the House?
No. Only upon the request of the taxpayer, if the taxpayer wants them to come inspect their property.
All right, by inspecting property, does that mean they come in?
If you want them to. It's up to the taxpayer. You understand, that doesn't trigger unless the taxpayer says, I want you, assessor, to come in here to look at what I've done or what's bad about my house to lower the assessment. So, I mean, no, you're talking about what happened in Norfolk.
Yeah.
And what happened with Sharon McDonald and those guys going into people's houses. This is not what this is about at all.
Okay.
No. And by the way, it only happens if you are challenging your assessment and you ask them to come to your house to look in it. You have to tell them what you want them to look at. Okay? I mean, so, and by the way, that's what you can do now. This doesn't change the law as it currently is written today. If you wanted to have an assessor come to your property to look at either if you put in a pool, or you have a shed in the back, or you've done some renovations to the house in the exterior or interior, if you want them to. They don't have to go into your house. They're not, it's up to you to do that. So, but anyway, that's what that bill does. So you're going to have, as a taxpayer, more rights than you've ever had before on your real estate appeals. And we are going to chip away more and more at that as the years come to make sure that we have the system that I always wanted. But this creates a more level playing field, the best level playing field that we've ever had in the history of Virginia. So I'm very excited about that bill as well. Yes, sir. Yes.
What's happening to taxes when the house sells for less the next time around, like houses are doing today?
I'm sorry, I'm out. What do you mean, the taxes?
Yeah, do they go down with the
Right.
sale price?
Well, there was a bill that would have dealt with that, saying that you would have had to handle, as far as the real estate assessment would have been on the sale price or with the market price. I believe that bill died. I don't know if that was Cotsford's. I don't think it was Cotsford's bill, but that bill died. But the localities, you understand, have control over the real estate assessments and the amount that they charge on your assessments. So that's all 100% a locality issue.
So new buyers still paying that higher tax when the house sold for more?
Well, in Virginia Beach, we're fortunate in that we have a yearly assessment. If Rosemary was here, she can actually enlighten you more on this. Which means that as the market goes down, we're actually noticing the change in your property value so that your assessment should go down as the market does, or goes up. I mean, it happens both ways. There are certain localities in the state where they have 3-year or 4-year assessments, which means they don't assess your property except for every 3 or 4 years. And what happened in the Rockingham area, that area was, for the first 3 years, they have a 4-year assessment. For the first 3 years, the property values, this is when the boom was hitting, and that 4th year, that's when the market dropped out. The bottom dropped out of the market. The problem was they do a rolling average over 4 years, and that the last year after the market dropped, everybody was reading the paper how the market, the economy was in recession, and then they got their assessments from that county that showed a 25% increase in their property values. And those people went nuts. And they had 6,000 appeals in that locality alone. And that was one of the reasons why when I brought this bill last year, the cities really were concerned because they thought people would appeal for no reason whatsoever. So we do have a good bill, and like I said, it creates a more level playing field for the taxpayer, and it's the best playing field they've ever had on this issue in the history of the real estate assessments. But I would ask, when Rosemary's here now, after breakfast, you might want to talk to her about that as far as that real estate assessment issue. The other bill I carried for our Attorney General, Ken Cuccinelli, it's an eminent domain bill, and it's a very simple bill. Right now, when the government tries to take your property using eminent domain, they can get as many appraisals of your property as they want, but they only have to show you the one they want to show you. That's currently. So if they get 4 appraisals and one of them is really low on the property value, that's the one they're going to show you, obviously, because they want to buy you the property at the cheapest amount. I put in a bill that said, no, wait a minute. If you get 4 appraisals, or however many appraisals you get, you have to show the taxpayer every one of them. They have to know what the value of the property is and how many appraisals you've had. So that passed, and the bill also states that if there's any surplus property, which often happens after they take it, they're required to offer it back to the original landowner before they put it out on auction. So, of course, the original landowner is going to have to purchase the property back. But they have to offer it back to them because it's only right that they should offer it back to the person that they intended to take it from to begin with. So that bill passed as well, and that's on its way to the governor's desk. And Jeff mentioned adoption, and that is something that's very close to me, very dear to us as being adopted parents. we put in a bill that actually streamlines the adoption process, makes it cheaper for the people to adopt foreign-born children, and cuts out a whole process of red tape when they finalize the adoption in another country and they bring their child who's a citizen of the United States back. And that passed out of the Senate, which was really kind of interesting as well. So I'm really pleased with the package that we've produced this year from my legislation. And if you all have any questions about anything, please just raise your hand, because I'm just going to go over a couple of topics now that might be of interest to y'all. How many of y'all heard about what was known as the CWA email, or the Communication Workers of America? Did y'all read about that? That was Jason, I know you knew about it. All right, well, here's what happened. Here's an interesting thing. The CWA they're the Communication Workers of America. They're a union, okay? They're a union. We had a bill that would help out the telecommunications industry. Basically says, or one of the portions of it said, look, we're moving towards a wireless community. I mean, that's what we're doing. So it would relax some of the provisions of mandating them to put landlines in certain areas. Because, most people are moving away from landlines. They're moving to wireless. So that's part of the provision of it. And there was other issues on there that would have, what the union thought would have hurt them, or would have hurt their workers. Well, they sent out an email to certain Democratic delegates and lawmakers threatening them in the email prior to the vote, saying that we will withhold money from you guys. I mean, I'm summarizing basically what it did. We will withhold votes from you guys. We will not support you guys if you support this legislation. Well, unfortunately for them, the Republicans got a hold of the email. And so Tim Hugo, Delegate Tim Hugo, who's originally from this area, by the way, but lives in Northern Virginia, it was his bill, the Telecommunications Act. So he pushed this, and he's pushing this, and saying, this is improper influence. This is not right. You cannot, and you should not be sitting there telling people, you're going to lose money. We're not going to support your campaigns in that way, in a financial way, because that looks like some sort of influence peddling. So it's kind of exploded a little. There's a lot of FOIA requests going on to these legislators to get that email, to find out how they voted and what they were told about that. And I bring that issue up because of what's going on really in Wisconsin. How many of y'all know what's going on in Wisconsin? Wow. Well, we all know what that's about. I mean, you look at with all the reports that we see, it's really about collective bargaining. I mean, there's a big issue is that it's a salary issue too, as far as requiring that the teachers union, or the members of the teachers union, the teachers have to pay more into their retirement and more, into their retirement. But it's also about collective bargaining, because it's stripping away a lot of the provisions in collective bargaining, allowing them to bargain their salaries and stuff like that in Wisconsin. I bring this up because it's kind of interesting, because we don't have this problem in Virginia. And the Wisconsin problem. We have a different problem in that you have people sending emails threatening they're not going to give you money in the campaign, which is absolutely, completely, 100% inappropriate. But we're fortunate because we're a right-to-work state. And that we don't have these problems with collective bargaining and stuff. But make no mistake about it, every year we have bills, and Barry can tell you, and Jeff was here, that ask us to move towards a union state. Every year, the other side will deny it. They will deny it, and they will say, no, we don't, no, we believe in the right to work and all that. Well, just a couple of years ago, there was a bill that actually would have cut the right to work state, and it was by Adam Evan, I think. Is that right, Barry? And we shot the bill straight to the floor. The leadership in the House said, you know what, we're going to put everybody on the board on this, because we want everybody to see what kind of bills they're putting in, because normally you don't even know. These bills get killed in subcommittee or committee, and you never see it on the floor, so the pilot never reports about it, and the newspapers never report about bills, really, that they get killed in committee. So we shot it to the floor, and of course they had to take hard votes on it. But we're fortunate that we don't have this issue where people are not going to work because their collective bargaining is being, they believe infringed on. Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think we take a step back for a moment in reference to communication workers of America.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think you probably know that Congressman, the Speaker of the House, Ron Bailey,